Okay. All right. So now our goal is going to see, let us start. So oh, let me put in my notes. I think what I found, your slide. All I want to do is say um, cold start. Uh, one of the part is to get up to speed once we start the project. How do we do it, right, without friction? What do you propose? Are you proposing? All right. We would have to change the form as well, just to make it easier to enter this information, because right now we have too much fields. I think it's Well, now I asked the LLM, if he would agree to simplify the form by reducing the number of and just a tag in category. And even then, our tags should not be manual. I think we should have them as how do you say this? Kind of like chat log. I think we should have a chat log. And a chat log, I think, constitutes primarily of an answer in a response or a question response kind of thing. But by default, just say query. Okay, so now it's a great idea. So you see what's going on here? This one is smart enough, but you have to hold its hand. The GPT-4 is smart, but you have to hold its hand for it to do what you want it to do. So that's the only thing I don't like too much about it. So in that case, we're gonna now we say I'm going to change the model, right? I'm gonna switch to Gemini. You will see the difference. You will see the difference if I go to Gemini Pro. Okay. Now watch what I do. Wait, if I look at our current look. Okay, well, that's a box. Look at our current. Okay. Okay, well, it's giving some issues right now, so I'd say look. It's better at following instructions, but when it comes to kind of discussing ideas, it falls short. So it's better if you kind of burn some tokens. Stop. What do you think I'm trying to do here? And this will also need some DB schema changes, right? And right now, it says, you see, it proposed a schema change. So we're just gonna have a answer, query, and type. And I'm gonna say, for now, the user should not worry too much about that. Basically, take off the brain. It's kind of like, if you look at, okay, so how would you recommend for me to actually do that? We're gonna ask it for that too, right? Now, it seems like an industry standard. It's what they call a PRD, product requirement document. Does our kind of plan fit that, or what do you think? So we have this, right? So the vibe coding, it's kind of like pulling you in many directions, but we want, because we're like prompting, and the language is kind of going in these directions. It's good when you're exploring things. There's a place for it, but at some point you're like, okay, you know what? Maybe it's better, instead of being like, a slot machine, like a slot machine, right? Where we like asking for a prompt. We're like, give me a good result, and you pull it, and you're like, give me another good result, and never know what's gonna happen. So that's kind of vibe coding. But when we, right? Now, let's look at our brain feature. Okay. So we have 12% in progress. And this is our recent activity, right? Now, let's see what we should pick. I could go like that, but I'm gonna do that first. I'm going to go to my agents, and I'm going to go to, let's go to the brain. The brain has nothing assigned, or the debugger. Well, oh, the coder. Well, we're gonna ask the architect, maybe investigate the agent workflow. Well, let's add an entry. Let's actually go and say yes. All right, so it said Okay, so now I'm going to, all right, let's clear that. I'm gonna give it, so I just had the bright idea that we need a mechanism. So what if I am currently the sole developer that's orchestrating the agents? Uh, Sometimes, if you make a mistake, it's better to just clear it because code is disposable. So we are going to go into our knowledge or intelligence, and we're gonna go here and we're gonna say, hey, we have a little, well, let's restart our server. Okay, so right now, I think what we should do, what do you think? Should we keep on, okay, so let's go all the way at the bottom and we're gonna add a new idea. I mean, I don't even see how. I think that's a bug. Okay, so this is a bug here. So this is how I'm going to file a bug. I'm going to go, let's say bug, and I'm going to say that I think this page slash ideas has an issue. The user interface needs to be reviewed and with some work. Okay, so I think we're gonna have an agent that is specifically for user interface, UI, UX. So with that being said, we're going to kind of call the big boys. We're going to go into our Copilot chat. We're going to leave it as automatic. And we're going to basically say your task. I'm going to put it as automatic. And I'm going to create a new chat here. And then I'm going to basically say, okay, let's close that. Let's say automatic. All right. Okay, I think I've been looking at our project, and I think first, find out where we have our agents defined. And I think we're going to create a new agent, and that agent is going to be a user interface designer, UI, UX. And tell me how you would, the system prompt for that agent, where you would place the information, and your primary goal will be to have a design system in place with like basic elements so that our application looks cohesive and well made. And then do an assessment of our current CSS and the most basic elements that we have. So I choose auto because it will know when to have context or not. So while this is gonna read our file, I think here I'm going to kind of say, as me as the product owner, because if we go into our application here, we don't want to have that slot machine experience anymore with Vibecoding, because that's what it is going on right now. It's like we don't know what's gonna happen. It gives us something, we test it, and before you know it, we are just running around in circles. So it is far better to, in my opinion, have the implementation done in this way, where if we go in our showcase and right, ideas, we would want ideas to be like that, but it would be better if see what I mean? So with that being said, let's see what our Copilot is saying. Okay, it's breaking down our UI UX because we want to have, okay, so what did it say? It's creating our design document, and we kind of know what we're doing, but when the ideas come, we are going to experiment with it. Now, our plan.md has this issue where, not an issue specifically, but the friction comes in uploading that document. And then when we have that document, to put it, to know if it's global or if it's just a granular plan.md. The second part, after we ingest that document, is to kind of have the mechanism to mark it. I understand that the UI represents it with the Kanban board, but then at the base, how would it mark it as completed, and how would the agents know to kind of continue with it? Now let's go to our brain. It's still doing what it needs to do. So okay, so let's see what it says. This is a long-running one, so sometimes the long-running ones are good. When the user drag task to done, nothing updates in the original plan. And for no mechanism for agents to check what next. So there is a bi-directional plan where we have a database, we export, to plan, ingest. So it's that loop. So your goal is in our showcase feature controller. I think you will have to have this thing. First, we need a service called command runner service. The command runner service will, upon it is called, it will check which operating system we are running, and can we run it either Python or can we run it with a terminal. And then after we run it, we detect our operating system, then we can run a CLI, input output. What do I mean by that? We can send it a terminal command, it runs it, and then we get the response back. And we can call it headless terminal runner. We can do Gemini for now. And it can run the command, but after it runs the command, we do stuff with it through a prompt. What is the prompt? The prompt, upon receiving a little snippet of text, it's going to create a graphical representation, infographic with Canvas or SVG or JavaScript to illustrate the concept in that. You can use Showcase controller and look at the previous entries to get an idea of how we can build it. Do you understand what I just asked you? After I've done that, please go into our prompt controller and add this very prompt, but you refine the prompt as an entry in our prompt controller. First task is to actually add that in our prompt controller as an entry. Then create a task, which is to create the controller that will handle the comments for review. Please do that. Okay. So we try to be as specific as possible with it. And so instead of having this epic story kind of thing, it's better to, we don't know, it's kind of indeterminate, but it's the idea that's in your mind. It's fuzzy, it's incomplete, but then, and actually I'm gonna put that in the chat. It says, what you build is never what you imagine. When you externalize it, okay, it changes the idea. So you don't fight it, right? You don't fight the idea when it comes. No, you're like, okay, let's see which part we can, right? The map is not the territory. The map teaches you about the territory. So we have these agents, right? And we have this little game. This is to kind of make it fun as we are developing the software. And this is my branding so far. Now, let's look at our sitemap. We have an agents controller. We can get an agent and see the page. We have a brain controller. This is going to be the most complex one so far, but we can save things to the brain. You can seed an idea. You can synthesize. The diagrams, in fact, if we go to slash diagrams, and we have some diagrams. You can view the diagram. Back to diagrams. And showcase. I think I will make a correction. Also, just a quick correction. Instead of putting it in the showcase, let's put our representations, our illustrations, and slash diagrams. Okay, and then we're going to check that over at the code. But for now, since we have already reviewed, it's waiting for our permission. We're going to confirm always in this section. It's gonna create I still don't understand this part that you're talking about. I think you have to think about it through the lens of two things. First, we have an idea. We haven't expanded upon the idea yet. We just have an idea. We're trying to see if it's going to fit inside of our current software. Do we have to adapt our software to integrate that idea? Is the idea good enough? Once we've determined that the idea is good enough, now it's a matter of finding which agent that's going to work on it. The agents have a special prop, so they'll know how to work it best. They have access to a body of knowledge. And then, once they have access to the body of knowledge, they can operate upon it. Now, while the agent is working, we have to know, okay, this agent is working on this piece of code. So we're not touching that until it's done. There's that complication. But for now, remember, once we have the plan, the agent goes and generates the files little by little until it's finished. And we just assume that everything is going to be tested. If it's tested, that means and the files exist, that's good. And then the human can do the rest to review it. So does this idea exist in our application yet? I think that's the most important question for me to ask. While this is thinking, let's go back in our agent that is okay. So we have a new agent that is going to, the agent says, let's see what has the agent said. The agent said, now I exist. And what you're gonna do with me is, I'm gonna keep those. It says, I am an agent that's going to take care of UI. And it's a 13,000 line, 1300 lines. Let's see what, let's go to agent. What was the file name? The file name was UI. So we have to go to docs and we have to go to agents. We have to go to UI UX designer prompt. And this is the prompt. It says we are the architect. We have design tokens, color palettes, design components, ensure all pages inherit the same design system, and we document everything. We do all those things. And it says it's well, let's see. We'll take care of these documentations, don't worry about it. Now, it's going to create a unified design, because if you look at our application, it looks good, but it needs some refinement. Especially we have stock bootstrap, so it looks like every other website. It's okay, it works, there's nothing wrong with it. But if we're gonna have our, sometimes I think design decisions should be made pragmatically and not just because we want things to look pretty, you know? Like for example, a simple thing would be if I click, right, that little jump should not be there. Simple stuff like that. And this is our documentation so far. So we have a doc that is growing. Our application is documenting itself. So for example, if I go, like, to kind of show you an idea, like if we go to Django, and let's go to documentation, and we click on, let's go to instance methods. See, we have this thing, we can navigate, we can see what the code is done with an explanation. For example, one of my favorite features of Django is what they call class-based views. It's if we go into here and we go to the view layer and we go to class-based views, and class-based views basically allow us to, let's say we want a get. All is to do, you go to about view, that's it. You just say, you don't have to say if request equals to get, if equals regards to post. It just automatically knows how to see. You can support other HTTP methods. There's another one that's next to it that's called generic views that you guys can also use. But let's go back to, that was just an example to show you. So we're gonna start implementation. Now let's see what our, see, we have this growing body of knowledge. Our app is documenting itself. And let's go to our intelligence, our showcase. We are just putting things in clusters for now. Trees are too complicated, too hard to navigate. So if we go to our diagram, and to see that we can generate a new diagram, but for now, we have this part here. With Vibecoding, we're just running around in circles, and it's like whipping us back and forth like a slot machine. But we kind of want this, like instead of a slot machine, you know, instead of a slot machine like that, I think it would be far better to have like a assembly line, right? When you have an assembly line, this kind of concept, right? And in fact, this is kind of like a much better way to build it. So now instead of having a bunch of, Henry Ford was one of the pioneers of this kind of principle of, right? But instead of a bunch of humans here, we're just gonna have agents that are going to take care of. So you see how you build components. You build, you put them on a chain and it's coming, and you're like putting the wheels and you're painting. You're putting the thing on the head and then the cars are coming out. You see, it's a bunch of wheels. Then a bunch of people outside are setting up the cars and sorting parts, taking, so at every part of the chain until we have our Ford Model Ts out. So this is kind of like the concept we're kind of doing related to our thing. We have the spec, we decompose it. I'll go more in details about decomposition, but decomposition, even if you go in terms of decomposition task, I would go, so it's a fancy way of saying breaking down the task, right? We're taking some idea, right? And we are breaking it down until, so a lot of people think vibe coding is a one-shot thing where we ask it even some values and some input, can it solve it in 10 minutes correctly? But wouldn't it be better to have it like that? We have our initial intent. We have, so it's still kind of a tree, but not quite. So that's why um, even the idea of having a chain of thought, um, even here, and the idea is to kind of move away from the randomness, because you have a little bit of randomness here, a little bit of randomness here, a little bit of randomness there, and then sometimes you have to go back and fix it. Meanwhile, and I'm going to give you an example here. You see, this is a bunch of docs that I'm going to have to squeeze and organize. And we don't want that. We'd rather have, for example, like that. I have a nav bar, a navigation bar that is doing one and one thing only. And that's why I think it's important to always pay attention to the code. So the code doesn't go out of hand, so that even the language model does not understand it. So speed is part of it too, but accuracy is also important. So now it's gonna ask me to build, so I'm gonna quit and I'm gonna let it create what it needs to create. So while this is building, let's check our chat. So it assessed our CSS. We have two design system conflicting, and we have an implementation guide, and we're going to make our site look better with the color palette, and we're going to have a scale. We're gonna have how many buttons? One. Our components, we have buttons, forms, cards, navigation, alerts, badges, and utility classes. Now let's ask the thing one question. Thank you for giving us an assessment of our current user interface. Now, I would like to know if I had to quit the session and make you an agent that's going to implement our revamped user interface, what would you write in that document so that it knows exactly what to do and follows a plan? Once you have that plan, you're going to go in our workspace, ID number 3, and you're going to put that plan into our thing. If you would rather create a new workspace, you can create that. But the important thing is that you're going to assign all of those tasks to the agent that is going to take care of the UI UX. Do you understand? And are you ready? Always ask after you're given an instruction, I found it important. After you've given an instruction, I found it important to ask the AI, do you understand what I just said? What do you understand from what I just said? To see if it understood your message. Okay, now, while this is searching the code, let's see. So what is missing in our workflow? Because remember, we're gonna go back to that discussion about tech companies. In fact, let's say Google in the year when Google just started being popular versus right now. How somebody with the computer and AI agents, will they be able to compete with Google at the time when they just got started? We're gonna actually ask that question, and let's see what answer do we get. Now, don't forget to like and subscribe, because this is going to be important as you get a notification when I'm back online, because we're building this there are ideas here that are discussing that we don't find everywhere, because we are just being very, very experimental. So this is a stand-up meeting that the AI has generated for us. Think about that. It tells us exactly, this is yesterday what we have accomplished, this is where we are, And this is our priorities. And we have references. So this is very good. Now, let's, it's going to, and you know what? I think we should let this ride. There's no better model, but let's let it do its thing. Meanwhile, this one is stuck in a loop. Gemini, classic Gemini. Just look at the loop. That's a funny thing. It says, I am done. One check. Today's date, consistent. And it's like, one check, code. I am done. Creating a service foundation. I will ask. Let's let it do its thing for now. Maybe it's not going crazy. Now, okay, so the application has reviewed itself and it tells us we cannot actually run the agents. If a work is in progress, 2 agents should not be able to work on it at once. When the file is created, we should track it. We need to verify if it exists, and can we orchestrate it. So now, I think for now, we are not so much worried about autonomously letting the agents do the work. We just want to prepare it. What do I mean by that? We're gathering all the info needed at this very specific level of granularity so that then we create either a prompt. I don't want to call it a prompt. I mostly want to call it a context package. The context package has an agent, system instruction, the task that it needs to work on, maybe a prompt, maybe a context explanation, a list of files for it to know this is the files that it's going to work on, a list of test cases, and maybe some comments that it needs to run, and then maybe some attachments like analyze this screenshot or look at this piece of code as an example. And then we have a degree of expectation. Then that context package, think of it like a payload. We have like a bunch of raw materials that we have. And then once all of these raw materials are there, we can basically send that off to the LLM. The language model works. It gives us what we need to do or what the result of its work. And then we store this in the brain. Not everything, not the whole context package, but maybe a distilled version of it. So now we have a better insight. And the next time we can recall that part, that specific part of the application, and we can keep working on it. So I've clarified that for the LLM. Now, it's going to map out. Okay. That's what I like about Cloud Sonnet. It's quite smart. Now, I'm going to see, okay, so our agent says it's gonna take about 42 hours. Say everything is prepared. Well, I'm still not, this is the plan. Well, I have so many files. I think you should give me a seed prompt that's going to initiate. It's almost like a header file that's going to initiate the kickstart of development. Think of a junior developer that's going to work on it, and basically you'll give it references to all the files, to the doc file that it needs for it to start doing the work. And our goal is for it to work in sequence. After every task that is done, it marks it as completed, and then we keep going. Do you understand what I just said? And I'm not going to say agent. I'm going to switch it to plan for now, to ask. I'm asking it. Now let's see. Our Gemini is going haywire. It's losing its brain right now. But we'll let it. It's been working for only 1 minute. Now, let's see what Claude has told us. He says, well, this is what exists. The prompts exist, but they are not linked to tasks. Okay. Context explanation exists, but it's missing. Test cases are missing. Attachments are missing. Degrees of expectations are missing. And result storage are missing. This is very important, actually. This is like, we are doing like experimentation. We're doing science. We're doing science as we're going. So let's, that's the part I like about that's the part I like about really that kind of stuff. Okay, so nope, it's not finished. So we'll give it 5 more minutes. If it goes crazy, we'll leave it. We'll end the task. But we're going to copy this because this is important. And we're gonna go into our brain, not brain, but in our application. And we're gonna go into knowledge or intelligence, ideas. We're gonna go and we're gonna add this as a new entry. Save. So this is a new entry. Okay. So this is gonna come back soon. We're gonna need it. Let's go in our diagrams. And we are here. Okay, we are here. We're gonna decompose the idea that we're talking about before we generate. Because vibe coding, we have the idea. We type the prompt. AI. You know, like it's like AI, build me a SaaS. And we should have some memes for that. Like it's like AI, build me a Google. But it's not gonna work like that. So we have to make sure we use AI assisted development rather than we have the idea, then we prompt, and then the prompt is bad, you know, it's like and then we iterate, we prompt, we iterate, we prompt. It's good for experimentation, but it's not good if we're like deploying from spec to deployment. We have to add some structures instead of like a slot machine. And I think we should have some memes. You know, let's have some memes actually. But because let's actually I don't know what I'm going to say image effects. We're gonna create some memes with AI actually. Let's see. If you don't know image effects, we're gonna say, can you create oh, it's writing sideways. Can you create like a caricature of a vibe coder who's asking AI to build me a multi-billion-dollar SaaS, and the computer is like a slot machine at a casino. Okay, so I'm going to illustrate what I mean by vibe coding in the sense that maybe some of us understand it, or we may, please don't forget to subscribe. So the idea is we just press the button and then instantly okay, so let's actually say, let's remove the casino, and we don't want that in our workflow. It's gonna waste a lot of tokens. And in fact, I want to see how many tokens I've burned just in this chat status. So session info, 65,000 tokens, and our Gemini has used 400, 500,000 tokens, 500,000 tokens. Okay, so let's say startup and vibe coder. Okay, So let's wait for it to load. So Vibecoder will like, oh, come, oh, I mean, there we go. That's a perfect. You see how many tries it took me just to get a good picture? And actually, that's a good caricature. I'm going to save this because that's actually funny. And this is exactly what we're asking. We're telling the language models vibe code me, and it's not quite what we expect. And in fact, let's look at our. So it's like we pull this handle, and then, but it's not gonna build me a multi-billion-dollar startup. Well, good luck. Maybe in 100 years or less. Maybe in 50 years. So what we want is let's go to our showcase. What we want is you know, we have an idea in our brain. We want to. The idea transforms. The moment that you put it out there, it becomes a different thing. It faces reality. So this code that's going to be there is going to be so different than actually what we think it's going to be, which means that we have to capture the ideas, then we decompose them, and then we understand, but also every iteration we learn, which means that we have this part yet, we have our recent activities, we like, okay, this is what we're working on right now today, and this is our current session. This is okay, you understand what we're doing. And then now let's go to our workspaces. We have a workspace. Let's go to our board. And so that's not quite ready. I think there was a bug in Gemini. Okay. Clear. And this, you see, I forgot what the prompt was. So I think what I said, what did I ask the Gemini? I asked Gemini to, I think I lost it. And that's actually a perfect example. It's a perfect example of, yeah, it's a perfect example of what could go wrong. Look at that, 420,000 input tokens. While this is going, let's look at our Copilot. We have a kickstart prompt that we're going to copy and paste. Where is the prompt? Where is the prompt? We're gonna go into kickstart prompt. I'm going to copy and paste this. So I'm gonna go into our docs and I'm going to go to, I cannot find it, so I'm going to go to kick. Well, is it in our changelog? So you see, I haven't written a lot of code. I'm mostly dealing, most of my files are documentation files, which is ironic, right? Because they're supposed to be code, but I am just all documentation files for now. All documentation. Like, this is what you need to do AI. This is the style. This is, and then we can keep it. This is a checkbox. Once you finish with this, move on to this one. Move on to this one. Move on to this one. These are the file I expect you to edit or to write. And then this is, do this first. This is the buttons that you have to create. This is the cards that you have to create. This is the forms that you have to create. And then we're like going from there. So while this is going, let's actually see what we can do. Give me you see? So our splash screen went from Vibecoding to factory. And if we go into our video, yesterday we did our bootloader, where think of it, we're like booting. We're booting our operating system, so to speak. So with that, we are going to look at our agents to see has the agents showed up. And what agents do we have now? The agents user interface has not yet been displayed. So I think I'm going to go to Gemini again, and I'm going to say, have you been able to find a Kickstart document in our pending changes? Okay, and then it's gonna look over. So remember, we don't want this. We don't want this. We want a different type of mechanism to develop software. And I've been talking. Neural pathways is extensive networks of specialized cells that transmit messages between different parts of the body, forming complex, interconnected circuits capable of independent function with parallel processing capabilities. These pathways connect various regions of the nervous system through bundles of axons called tracks, and circuits, and they are bidirectional. And if we take a look at the images, we'll see kind of like, probably not entirely accurate, but it's like connections between ideas and feelings and thoughts and beliefs and response. And if a computer, can think like that, so, and even the name, neural network, don't you think they have taken inspiration? It's a machine learning model inspired by the structure and function of the human brain. So you see, they took inspiration from the human brain to create that. So it's a bunch of interconnected neurons, and they use graph, and it's like a bunch of fancy schmancy mathematics that we can explore another day. And if we can do that, well, why don't we have a scaled down version of this with our brain that we are building? And for now, I think explore neural pathways. And I'm going to put it as maybe a question. How principles of neural pathways and neural networks can be applied into this project. So this is a little memory entry, right? So now let's see how our context package is faring. Let's kickstart. And what is this doing? It's creating our workspaces controller. Yes. Once this is done, I'm going to commit, because we have to commit. And now let's see, we have to start and stop it. So let's look at our documentation. Remember, one of the goals is that our application self-documenting. It's learning from itself, right? You see, like for example, I can go into bugs. We have a bug. We have a bug. Oh my god, this is actually cool. We have a bug. Well, let's look at our, so that's actually kind of cool. So let's see, was it fixed? Okay, so it was analyzed. The bug was analyzed. So you see, it's like a loose ideas that we have to kind of tie together. And the main part is that if I have an idea, I just put it there. If I have a thought, feature, a bug, I just put it there. And then our agents, the debugger, should kind of see it. I think that's the point. And then the system instruction for that agent is right there. We're gonna remove the emojis because I think they are unnecessary. We should put ASCII characters. And the brain, well, it's the keeper of insights. But mainly today, we've mostly been working with the architect, because I think, so now, where is our focus should be? Once that feature is finished, we'll kind of not use the LLM so much and use, we're gonna kind of write more code by hand, because let's stop this. Let's see what our model is doing. So Gemini is actually can be good. you know. Gemini has been quite performant. Okay, so that's asking some questions. And yes, it's checking our workspace. So look at that. While our, okay, so it says it's unable to find that. I'm going to go here and in fact, I'm gonna let the model, maybe GPT-5 mini, handle that task for us. I'm gonna let GPT-5 mini, and I'm going to say just implement. That's what I'm gonna say, implement. So Gemini can be good, but also can be lacking. So I'm gonna use Gemini for insights more and less for, okay. So analyze our project right now based on our pending changes and our documentation, and kind of tell me what patterns do you see based on anchor the idea of neural network and neural pathways and assembly line and factories. Idea is what I'm proposing to you is that we instead of just mindlessly vibe coding and expecting results, we kind of step in the middle to um, have a process where we're using the brain of the AI to kind of build ideas and understanding first at that degree, at that level, instead of this broad knowledge. We want it to understand like this part. Then it can generate code, generate documentations, and write tests so it doesn't go haywire, and we can save tokens, and it's faster, and it's almost like do what it's supposed to be doing. So with these ideas, how would is our application currently doing? Thank you for watching. Anyone, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Okay, now I'm going to start the project. And so remember, we're kind of moving away from the slot machine, and we're kind of going with this idea now from vibe to factory. Yep, from vibe to factory, from vibe to factory. And the idea is it's like we're making industrial AI, and also we are kind of booting, you know, we are planning, we have a agent that's QR and that has a more systematic workflow. Okay, so that's kind of like the project that we're doing. So let's see what our is doing. It says okay, I'm going to say keep, we keep all, and then continue. Now let's see. Okay, so what has it given us? It's gonna create the diagrams for us. So current state, we have a manual factory, and we have a loading dock. We ingest a plan. So raw materials. Okay, so we are bringing raw materials, which is the tasks. I'm gonna put this in the chat so you guys can read. So first step are raw materials. And then our second step is archive. So we have our brain controller. This is where we store insights and patterns. It's passive, which is good because we don't want to overcomplicate our features. Then we have a gap. Once it's ingested, it sits the database until a human takes a look at it. And then we deliver a payload to the agent. And then we execute it. So Actually, I like that term, neural assembly line. I like this. Neural assembly line that I'm going to put here, which is great. So in our thing, we're going to kind of remember AI assisted development. We are the driver. We guide the LLM. So far, documentation is important. And the basic function of it is to read files. We can write to them, we can edit, and we can run comments. And what does that mean? We have modalities. Let's go first. We have a lot of insights. We're gonna go back to them, but take a look. Models, like, okay, I would say Gemini for analysis and kind of understanding. I would say kind of like the GPT stuff, maybe for implementation. Oh, the Cloud is for implementation too. But why? Why? But all can implement. So what happens is that Cloud, I think, is the most expensive. It's expensive, but it's good. GPTs are all right, but they can go nuts, in my experience so far. And Gemini is very good at large context, but sometimes it just doesn't want to do the work. It can be stubborn. So far, this is my experience with it. So some are faster than others. So we're gonna look at our modalities. What are modalities? They are kind of like input, voice, text, image. We process it, what the AI is gonna do, and then the output. So now let's go back to see okay. So now mission complete. Okay, now the moment of truth. Let us start our application, stop it. Let's rerun it. Then let's view what we have. 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 Ready? Let's view what we have. Let's view what we have. Oh, we have a new, no, not yet. Let's go to workspace. 20. Okay, well, let's go to phases. Okay. There you go. It's right there. And it's right there. We can create a context package, and then we create a database migration, and we can apply the migration, and we update the DB context. Now we're gonna create a context package service with this. Okay. My first impression so far, it's a first layer. I think we can decompose it further. So first, I think I'm gonna tell it straight up. We're gonna look at our diagrams too first, but before we look at our diagrams to see what he has created, let's instead tell it, I like what you've done with our plan, but I think it's an opportunity to have a bit more details into each item, and some can be grouped. For example, when we're creating the model about context package, all of these plans could just be bundled into one card, and then we can have more details. And also, I think right now, when I look at my workspace, there's a lot of things that were already done, but they are still in the to-do list. So I think we have to kind of move them over to done. So our main focus is going to be on the context package kind of feature. So I have 38% requests. I don't want to, it's gonna lose it soon. So I think one thing that I found important It's still not. Okay. While this is loading, I wanted to ask the question. I asked the question. I said, if in 2026, can a single developer in 2026 with a high-end workstation and AI agents could technologically crush the Google of the year 2000? In fact, Google indexed 1 billion web pages and they had 40 terabytes of data at the time. And it cost them $1,000,000 and 500 hard drive. Now I can have 22 terabyte hard drives for about $350,000 each. So I could currently store the entire internet on a computer. Anybody with like a bunch of hard drive can go to like a store, a hardware store, computer store in Micro Center or Best Buy or anything, and actually hold the entire internet. And it took us 2020, 25 years. And take it with a grain of salt, but it's saying that you could actually rival with AI if you had like Google. You were competing with Google in the year 2000 with technology. 25 years from now, you would win. So that's actually a great insight. And you could have 100 humans versus 5 AI agents. You'd have a crawler that's just crawling domains and getting information from them. You would have a system administrator that's basically just doing deployments and managing the servers. You would have an algorithm. I think this part would be more important. It's going to implement vector search algorithms. And actually, this is an important idea that might be useful for our application. So I'm going to go into our ideas and I'm going to kind of say here, paste it here. So save. Now let's look at our Visual Studio. It says that I think Gemini Mini sucks. I'm going to go to a haiku and I'm going to say we have a UI plan. We are basically kind of making our user interface more consistent, and your task is to kind of identify pages that need the consistency and kind of make it. So we need a design system proper first, and check the CSS for redundancies and simply give us a more consistent design. Okay, and in fact I'm going to, instead of task, I'm going to go to agent mode, so it's gonna go faster because so this is actually important. Here's a rule I've learned, so I'm gonna add that in my rule. I said when to code or to generate. I think first you need a round of questioning and clarification. Like ask the AI, it's almost like, here is my intent. Based on the code, how does it fit? Then phalanges, edge cases, pitfalls, and then clarifying questions. Then once, so this process here is like we are refining the idea. Okay, after the idea is refined, then we plan. Okay, we decompose the plan. Then we have test cases, and then we write the code. So if you look at our homepage, we have exactly that. We start with part of it is to brainstorm. And then our documentation is compiling knowledge, right? It's compiling knowledge. Our diagrams that I promised we're gonna take a look at, which has not been implemented, and we have to ingrain is the liminal space. What is liminal space? I think this is the problem. And we have to kind of actually go and call this liminal space. What is liminal space? Well, liminal space in a more, well, let's call it liminality. Let's use the proper term. Let's say liminality. And it's the state of in-betweenness in psychology and sociology. It's a state of transition. It's a state of ambiguity and uncertainty. And well, this was probably happened during the pandemic. And now liminality in software engineering examples. So let's check an example of that. Any questions that you guys have, please ask in the chat, or any feature requests. So all right, let's go back to we're gonna have a little fun section after that. Once this is implemented, we're gonna have a little bit of fun. What are we going to do? We're going to look at Hacker News again to find some what is going on. Okay, so here is the thing. Do we have a context package service? While this is loading, since it's completed, I'm going to say continue. Yes. And it's gonna work on our design for us. Now, let's look at our workspace to see if that change has taken effect. Remember, it says that we could compete with Google in 2026. Technologically, yes. Commercially, maybe no, because it was a business. So we have to kind of be a bit more realistic in that sense. With that being said, let's go back to our application and let's check our workspaces. Okay. And if it's running, of course. Ooh. Well, there you go. We're Vibecoding, so we just cleared out our little database. But let's see what it comes up with. I think we have to trust it. So I'm going to say ideas. Have a backup of our data and have it often, especially during active development. I think before we make any database changes, like destructive database changes, we should make sure that we have a backup and that we confirm that this is a destructive action. This is very important because as we are building our body of knowledge, our database is probably the most important thing that we may have. And it's there, which means that what we should kind of do is we don't want our computer to crash, so we're gonna close some tabs just to kind of alleviate some pressure. So remember, assembly line is the topic. Remember, this is the concept. You see little pieces here, little parts, little parts, little parts, until we have this. And if we want to see a more modern assembly line for, I don't know, cars, let's see how it looks like now. It's a highly automated. So even the car industry, is using smart factories and robots to assemble stuff for us. So imagine that humans, especially building software, like I was saying, I think we're just at the beginning of we're gonna go back to our Hacker News listing. In fact, let's go back to it, and let's see. So I hope that the AI will restore our idea in our workspaces. Let's check. Okay, we have 6 stacks now. Okay, that's not bad, huh? That is actually not bad. It has restored our hope. So you're not in okay, so next what we're going to do is open it, of course, to see, and there we go, our new tasks that we can drag and drop. I'm going to say this is in progress. Let's click. Okay, it says cPlan ID. I don't quite like that, so I have to go into import plan. I would say it says cPlans for details. I'm gonna tell it. Don't be afraid to tell the AI. Okay, so you see, it told us, hey, so this is the part. If you kind of save the best for last, what do I mean by that? We're using Cloud Sonnet, which is 1 premium request per request. So every time, oh, okay. And it says, yeah, restructured. It created how many tasks for us? 24 tasks, 7 detail cards. And let's actually just refresh this. Okay, let me click on one. Nope, not yet. Let's go to the phases. Let's see if that makes any difference. Okay, so it tells us the first thing we have to do is set the context data layer before we even think about user interfaces. Okay, so let's look at our diagrams. Let me say, good, but I do not see my diagrams. And where do I find my diagrams? And secondly, it just tells me to see plan.md for details. I think maybe we should have a link at the minimum. When we click, we actually see the contents of that plan.md file, and we can edit it if we want to. I think this would be a good middle ground between, because text is a stable kind of form of input, so we can start with that and then add that in our entry in the brain about what you just worked on and how it is useful. Then that prompt, refine it, add it into our prompt library, because this is important. So let me write that in the chat. Once you find a prompt that is very useful, save it somewhere, because you might need it again. And let me show you what I mean by a prompt library. Let's say there's a prompt that I use often, which is, I'm going to give you an idea of a prompt. Prompt library can be easy like that. A prompt library constitutes with maybe a title and content. Here's what, or simply this. It doesn't even have to need to have a title. Let's just focus on content of the prompt. The first prompt could be like, can you look at my pending changes and tell me, give me a summary. Summary. That's a prompt. So that's a good prompt, a perfectly fine prompt. The second prompt we can have is, can you look at this uploaded image at this file path and extract the HTML and CSS and send it back as an HTML file. That's another good prompt. Let's look at another prompt that we can have. Can you look at this plain document and tell us test cases, do a virtual run of a test cases and see what we can miss or have missed in the plan. Another one could be one that could be good. Would be, so those are the examples. I was just giving you example. Now let's see how our user interface is faring. It says go build and test. I want to say continue. Please continue. Please continue. And it's gonna continue. So what is the part that's good with vibe coding? I think UI is good. It's non-destructive. Given some parameters, that's like when I mean true vibe coding. Actually, is good with that. And now it's going to edit the docs. It's gonna end a plan and gonna re-import it. It's gonna do its thing. We're gonna see our UI is going to change here. It has deleted the board. We should instruct it. In fact, our prompts, we have some prompts here. You see, ingestion protocol, summon an architect agent. It's building something for us. We'll come back. We have import plant seed. I think a good category description. I do not like this format. It's too complicated, but we'll come back to that later. It's always good to have a sitemap. You know, all of our routes here, pages, routes, get. It's almost like an API. So look at how our most it's the workspaces controller. There's an issue here. It says the file is locked. So that means we have to stop our build. Okay, stop it and continue again. Now, well, that's a good idea, but we still want to keep the human element for now. But I understand the automatic ingestion and automatic assembly, but the execute package part, we don't want to touch it yet. We simply want to reach a point where we have the context package for now. Okay, so it's doing, what is it doing? It's selecting a title. It is finding the description. It is substring, kind of means you're truncating it. You're taking the first character and the last 100th character, you skip the rest. So you're taking a substring, or empty, ... if it's empty. And then you put it in you save it as a description. Then you select the task that's related to the workspace ID number 3, all of them, you order them by the order of the phases. It's kind of grabbing the ideas and putting them somewhere. While this is going, I'm going to say that I will be right back in it's not running, that's why. Okay, I'm gonna get some water, okay guys? I'm gonna put the music up.
I am back. All right.
We are back. All right, we are back. All right, we are back, and we're gonna continue our implementation. Now, let's see what we have here. Let's just. All right. If anybody like, I'll do one push-up. Cool, somebody liked it. Well, I guess I have to do one push-up. Once our development. It's gonna continue with the next one. All right, it's executing the second phase. Haiku, you know, since this is an important task, let me stop this. I'm gonna delegate this to the beefy opus model. I'm gonna say continue. I just wanna clear this out. Sometimes give it to the expensive model, let it do its thing. And yes. So now let's look at our pending changes. We're gonna do a manual review. You see, we mostly have, again, we mostly have documentation files. And they are like, we're gonna do a round of ingestion. I'm going to go and call, I think Gemini is good for that. Well, let's see what it's doing here. Okay, it's editing the files. Let's, okay. Let's put some other music here. Okay. So let's go back to this question about, let's take while our agent is working, let's look at Hacker News, see what it says. Well, they say Apple is fighting for capacity. Okay. What does that mean? That means that there's a factory and Apple just wants more of the factory's capacity to get more chips for phones and devices. That's what it means. Pocket TTS is gonna give your CPU a voice. It's a model that can clone your voice that you can run on your laptop, and it's
small enough to fit in your pocket.
That seems interesting enough. I'm going to bookmark it. So guys, please take a look. I think that's what I'm doing too with you. I'm giving you news too, not just Vibecoding. So that's important. Let's check another, we're gonna do that for, a few minutes to have a bit of variety in our show. Well, I got another like. Because when I have another like, I have to do a push-up. So, but since I'll just be 5. Okay, that was actually much needed. That was actually much needed. So I got a like, so I have to do the push-up. Whew. Push-ups are good. Okay, let's look at what Hacker News is saying again, if there's anything interesting, for like a few seconds. Well, they say Claude is good at assembling blocks, but it cannot create them. What does that mean? I agree. Because look at that. I'm using the most expensive Claude, and I'm gonna say continue with all the phases. Continue with phase 3. Okay, while this is going, I'm gonna tell a model, oh, okay, we don't wanna mess with this for now. We just wanna leave this for now. Okay. It says, let's check our details. Let's go. We're gonna start our application to see if any good changes were made. Let's see what we have. Well, let's go to our workspaces. Ooh, that looks a bit different. Open the board. Okay, let's click. Yeah, the description is filled. And we have to go to docs, diagrams, context, package flow. So we have to go to docs. And is there diagrams here? Well, what about if we go to diagrams? Okay, clearly this prompt kind of got us halfway through. He wasn't good at one-shotting it, so it's okay. We'll let the application run its thing for a while. And this is another part, is this context package. Okay, let's kind of quickly look at the code, right? It's creating an action. Action result is a data type that has some a special, I guess, operation functions. It's almost like a kind of request object in a way, and it can have responses. And to actually give you more details about it, let's go in our, well, let's not go into that much detail yet. So all you need to know is that you can create responses, format them for you. The name of the function is create. It takes an ID of a task. And basically now we're going to go into our context packages. We're gonna grab the first one that matches this ID, store it in here. Now, if there's nothing, everything goes well, we're gonna redirect to the edit portion of it with the screen, and we create the package. And if nothing has been found, there's no task, it's just going to create the exception, throw it, says nothing. Usually I wouldn't do it like that, I think, but that's what it gives off, and it probably would work enough. With enough test cases, we can rearrange it and rewrite it, but we just want to see what it looks like. That actually brings us to this part of the application. It's getting too complex. Okay, so I'm going to actually say that here. I think I have to be honest here. Our app is getting too complex. So we need a new method because it's starting to fail. It's starting to fail. We're starting to lose. So I think I'm going to go into our brain and actually write that down. Intelligence. Gonna go to ideas. I have to be honest. We have way too many features, moving parts. Currently, it's not. 1 second. That's a gaming overlay. We don't want that. I think it's still use J. We have to use Windows H. Okay, currently our app is getting way too complex. So we need a way to kind of manage the complexity. My first idea is to be a little bit, we're gonna do an audit in feature freeze, trim all the fat so we have something working so it doesn't break. Okay. Then we're gonna switch to the Laravel part of our project, or Django part of our project. For the rest, you'll see how much Django is much faster at creating things. Okay, so we're gonna okay. Let's see what our Claude is saying here. Let's look at our user interface. Okay, so let's go back to Gemini. We're gonna tell Gemini, we're gonna clear this. Before we say that, can you do a quick write-up of what you've done and then add that as an entry in our brain? Okay, now we're gonna ask, what should we ask our, let's see if GPT-5 can actually do that task. I'm gonna clear it, because remember, once we're done with the task, we clear it. I'm going to say, are you able to find all of the documentation files that we have, especially in our docs folder? We have a lot of redundant documentations. Would you be able to just understand what they're doing? No, I think this is a perfect case for Gemini. I'm not going to do. Okay, let's see what it does. So you see, we're kind of communicating between this agent and that agent. We're doing it manually. Communicating from that agent to that agent. So what we're doing here is we have this. Well, let's use another shape. We have agent 1. We have agent 2. Okay. So we have agent 1. Okay, we have agent A. Okay, we have agent B. So now, we are making this communication back and forth, but the issue is the question now becomes right, a communication layer. All right, guys, if you like, I'll do a few more push-ups and tell me something, ask me a question. What kind of things interest you in software? Are you students, professionals, or any sorts combination of all? Okay, look at what card has told us. Okay, please text it, but also once you're done, you will write an entry in our brain to kind of tell us what you've done. And then also, we have like a ton of documentations. I think we'll have to first pass is to kind of read the first, I don't know, 10 lines to get an idea of what they do. So I think you'll need the Python script or a C# script or a PowerShell script. Why do I ask you to read the first 10 lines with the code is so you can save tokens. Then you will compile those 10 lines for each to get an idea of what each file do. You will have a map, and then that will give you an insight how to organize these files. Then that will be the first step. We group them by kind in a subdirectory. My goal is that our root should not have any documentation that MD files unless they are agent instructions. Do you see what I just did? That's a prompt that we should save. So right now it's loose. So we'll just paste that in because that could be a useful. I'm gonna put that as a improvement. Okay. I'm going to stop this, continue. Let it do its thing. We're gonna check the app again. So you see what's going on here? I asked it to categorize them, not read everything, to save tokens. And you have agents, UI/UX migration, gray screen fix, plan ingestion, sprint, and archives. Then we can ask Gemini to read all of these in sequence and then compress them because we don't need all of that. We want concise rather than verbose because our app is not, although growing in complexity. So that's the part. I think a good test, I want to really test the capabilities of GPT-5 mini because I have doubts about it. So I'm gonna ask it in a different instance. I'm going to ask it to work on some on a project for me, just so that I can test its capabilities, just to see. No, I have this. While this is loading, let's okay, so it created a migration for us. I like how Cloud formats our stuff for us. I'm going to copy that context, right? I'm going to copy all that context. I'm gonna pass it into Gemini. You know why? We're done with this session because we don't want to sometimes we have to run the experiments like that. It's a big session. So I'm copying it. Actually, too much session. Let's go maybe here, I think. Let's start here. Let's start here. Okay. Now, please read this, and I want to understand kind of what you think about this. But also, I can point out one issue is regarding wiping out our databases. We need that safeguard to making sure that if we're running maybe some instructions to agents.md, if we are ever going to do some database wipes or some major database operations, that we should confirm with the human before we do that, because we don't want to use the data and because it's a SQL, and we have to also make sure that maybe we can have backup or just commit it into Git just in case. But then after that, that was just one instruction. What I would like for you to do is to help me understand this session in light of what we've been doing. I'm gonna do the same for Gemini. please follow these instructions and understand our session to see what's going on. So you just tell me what you understand from this session. And then I'm gonna paste it. And then so GPT-5 Mini is just giving us no elaboration, just a short line. It's not good, but we still want to test it. So let's use a different model. In fact, sometimes we don't have to run a million agents, you know what I mean? We can just have what works. Let's check our other agent that's running. I think this one is stuck. I'm just gonna nudge it because it's been stuck for, I'm just gonna say continue. In the meantime, let's run our server. It's trying to do something. Let's clear our terminal. And then let's say continue. So you see, sometimes knowing your tool is actually a good thing. Let's stop, let's continue. Knowing the tool is a great asset. And if it fails, we just do it by hand, it's okay. I think it sometimes just lets you to do things in parallel, you know, not necessarily faster per task. It would be faster for me to just do it by hand. So now so for you guys, what's the most annoying part of starting a project? And also give me a name for a feature. If I was gonna, okay, open board. All right. Very interesting article. Let's see the status of our... Okay, so what does it say here? The vision. Hmm. That's very interesting. So it okay. So now how do we move from there? You see, now we have an issue. I'm going to file that as an issue in our brain and in our workspace, and also in our task for workspace number 3. We have to file a bug, not a bug, but an entry that says manage the complexity of the application. That's the title, and the details is gonna be like, well, we have hit a number of features and they are complex in their own right, but the most complex part is to kind of making sure they work well together. So we have to look really deep into that next sprint. So now after that, do a little preparation, add that also in our documentation, which is, hey, this is what the app is. All right, once this is done, I will have to leave and I'll see you tomorrow, because I think we've done almost 3 hours of work and we've done some decent job. I wanted to show you the user interface before I leave. So once this is done, we'll check the new user interface, and so I can't keep going unless I get 3 more likes, which is good. Okay, so you see it's it's gonna create a brain entry. This is another prompt that we have, and we can insert. This is a good SQL statement to have. Also, allow. Good. Now should we have some sort of kind of date, or is there to the document, but also is there like some sort of current table that we have that would kind of put that idea on top of the stack for next time? So next time we start, our agents know that this is maybe in stand-ups as well, or where do you propose?
Friend of a friend in the front seat knows my name like we long time. Blue tag on the rear view says I'm parked where I shouldn't be. God shook head when we pulled through. Now we dancing on duty. We outside in the parking lot, doors wide, let the speakers talk. Side step, little shoulder rock. Side step, little shoulder rock. We stay late till the sky turns soft. Whole block turn into a spot. Don't stress what we haven't got. We got groove in the parking lot. Parking lot. Parking lot. Phone died, still they find me. Follow bass like a heartbeat. White sneakers on the tar road, half clean, but they still need somebody start with the whistle. Everybody jump on a rhythm. Grandma called on a video, said you better dance while you're living. We outside in the parking lot, doors wide, let the speakers talk. Side step, little shoulder rock. Side step, little shoulder rock. We stay late.
In our workspace number 3, manage complexity task, we should put that in progress. I just want to test that.
Round and round the cones we go. Hazard lights blinking in time. Security
If you had to do a write-up about what we just worked on, what would you put and where would you write this?
Something else, little sly when he checks that shell. Whole world feels small right now. Just this beat and ourselves.
So like that article I was reading kind of says, it said, you know, always make sure that, say, if you hit loading limits, that you can still continue coding, because documentation is first. So it says that's enough. Well, it says session complete. Okay. We fixed our route according to the let's collapse everything. There you go. That's what I wanted. So now everything is in docs and everything is checked in. So let's let this write our insight. And that's actually an important thing, is the top of the stack of tasks. And then thank you for everything, guys. And like I said, thank you for everything. Thank you for your viewership. I really appreciate you guys. And I will see you tomorrow. Please like the page so that next time, okay, if you like the page, next time when I go live, we learn together and build together, so that you get a notification next time I come on. Okay, and I'll post some videos too on my channel that are a bit more to the point.